bonjour, comment allez-vous? And Gervais très bien. I'm glad to see everybody's here. We hope you had a great week, and we're glad that you're with us tonight. We've got a great topic for you, and you're going to get some learning out of this one. I mean, last week was good. We talked about discovering and knowing what your passion is, and not to confuse it with what your talents are. There's a big difference between your passion and your talent. All right? So if you missed that one, go check it out on my Facebook. I'm almost positive you're going to gain something out of that. But listen, as we do in our usual fashion, y'all know if you haven't been here before, the first thing that we do, we toast up. So here's to everybody on the line. We know that you could have been anywhere, but you're here with us, and we most certainly appreciate it. So here's to everybody on the line. All right. Hey, Miss O'Neill.
Ooh, hey there, honey.
You sound like you had a rough one, huh?
Bro. Yeah,
Did
bro.
you?
We got to talk off sides about this.
All right, all right. Well, we definitely got some fixing for it if there's something broken. We know how to fix it, that's for sure.
You gonna fix it for me?
Oh yeah, you know we gonna fix it some kind of way. All right, some kind of way we gonna fix it. All right. But anyway, how was your week so far? I know today might have been kind of taxing for you, but you know,
it's been a week. I'm just gonna
all right.
tell you. It's been a week.
Man, we got
Yeah.
quite a few on, and we certainly appreciate everybody. Keith, I just hit you. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, it's been sort of a week, sir, but we just gonna keep on moving.
Yeah, it's been that way for me too. I mean, for some reason, I mean, December just kind of flew by, and I've been busy, but you know, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, yeah, but it's okay. We almost out of 2025.
And we know 2026 is going to be outstanding. We already know it. We're going to put that out in the universe because
That
we
part.
know that he will answer. The universe will answer. We just put it out there. What's good with you, Keith?
Yo, yo, what's up, guys?
All right. Hey, how's your father, man?
He's actually gonna be getting out of ICU by tomorrow.
Oh, okay. That's good
So
to
he's
hear.
moving in the right direction again. So we'll see. There's a lot of steps because this is more than the last time, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's moving in the right direction. So they got him off some of the tubes and different things like that. So it should be all right.
All right. Well, just keep us posted, man. Keep us posted. We'll be praying for you.
I appreciate it. You know how we do. We claim the victory already before everything is, whatever. So, yeah, we know the doctors, they're the experts, you know what I'm saying, in that particular case. So yeah, we good, but I appreciate you asking, definitely.
Okay. Hey Terrence, hey, thanks for the prize and the gifts. We appreciate them all, and again, we're glad that you all are with us because we know during this holiday season, people can always get busy. But as you know, or you may not know, we put out a lot of good information that's hopefully can help other people based on our research and our experiences and our outreach to other people. But anyway, we're going to get on to our discussion. Our discussion this week is going to be, hey, this is going to be a dandy. We already know this is going to be a dandy. Uh, and I know it's going to prove itself to be very interesting. And that discussion tonight is going to be on how do we know when we are ready to move on in a relationship, especially when we've invested a lot of time. You know, that seems to be the determining factor in a lot of these relationships, even if they're undesirable or they're toxic. when we spend a lot of time in a relationship, it's hard to break away because we become conditioned to those, all the attributes of that relationship. Sometimes we become immune to certain things. And I've seen that to be true with a lot of people I know that they want to leave, but they just can't. All right. But we're going to diffuse some of that, and we're going to dispel some of the myths that people may have in their mind to think that they have to stay or they don't have any other choice or any other alternative. I'm here to tell you, there's always alternatives when you're in a relationship that does not feel good to you. There are always alternatives. Now listen, I'm not saying that it's easy, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easy to leave anybody because especially with women and people who are very sensitive, who have a sensitive nature, they have a lot of caring. They've devoted their hearts and their lives to the relationship. And I know a lot of women, once they open up themselves to their significant other, it's like, I'm doing this because I plan on being here for a while. Now, that doesn't hold true for all women, but I'm saying the majority of them, and because of their nature. And we don't sugarcoat things on our lives. We call it just like it is. And we know that women by nature are more sensitive than men. Now, recently, we've started opening up as far as males because of the turn of the century and the new emphasis on mental health and all those different things. So it's getting a little better. All right. So, like I said, when we spend a lot of time in a relationship, even if it's toxic, it's very difficult for us to leave that relationship. Most people feel that they spent too much time in it. They've invested too much time and effort in the relationship. They start to reason with themselves. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Can I get an amen? You start reasoning with yourself, saying that it ain't that bad, right? Ain't that right, DeJoy? They would say that to men. It ain't that bad. You just don't understand him or her.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. Or they say to themselves, I've tolerated it for this long.
Or for this reason.
Uh-huh.
Or for this reason and that reason.
Yeah. And, there are a multitude of reasons now, don't get me wrong. And a lot of them think that they don't have anywhere else to go. So that's why I'm going to point out certain things in this live. So women or men who are trapped in toxic relationships, they know that it doesn't feel good. One thing about love does not hurt. Love does not hurt. And if you're in a relationship where that love is being taxed, or you feel belittled, or you feel you can't express yourself, or any of those negative things, then you know that it's not the relationship for you. And we're going to talk about why you stay. I understand it. And we've all been involved with relationships that we stayed in longer than we should have. All right? Knowing you're ready to move on from
Hey, Mr. G,
Go ahead.
real quick. One of the biggest reasons that people stay in a relationship,
Uh-huh.
one of the reasons is also the fear of the unknown. So,
yeah.
like you said, they became accustomed to whatever it is that they're going through with this particular person, whether it's whatever. It's the fear of the unknown and starting over. Some people are scared to start over. You have to have a certain mental disposition and a certain mindset to say, all right, you know what? If I got to start from zero tomorrow, I'm down to do it. Let's go. But I'm going to be smarter this time because I've been through what I've been through. So it's going to take me shorter time to go from zero to hero this time around.
And logically, that's right, Keith. And I don't see why people don't take that attitude. But people come from different stock. People have different backgrounds and come from different environments. But it's exactly like you said. I don't see, at least my logic and reasoning is okay, it may take me longer, but if I experience this or had this bad experience, then I'm going to be better for the next one because I can avoid certain things. I'm going to listen. When you're involved, there are patterns and there are different actions that take place consistently. Want to leave a relationship that just does not just happen overnight. There's been a pattern of abuse or misuse or no communication or whatever it is that forces someone to think that way. All right. But knowing you are ready to move on from a relationship, it usually isn't just about one dramatic moment, where everything just is too much for you to handle. And the drama has gotten to the point of where you can't resist it and you can't tolerate and you have to acknowledge it. Okay? Some people think that for me to leave, it takes something severe. It has to be something dramatic. It has to be something where there's some extreme suffering, whether or not it's physically or mentally. That's what they feel. But I'm here to tell you, that's not the reason that relationships end, because you've already had enough signs. Now, whether or not you ignore them or heed them, it's up to you. But the signs are there. Now, it's about a pattern of clarity that settles in over time. It's about a pattern of clarity that settles in over time. So
You've been talking to Dr. Phil, Dr. Roof, and them.
no. I think they probably still got some old ideas. We still got a little spunk. So we got different.
So they just you.
Yeah. We got a different angle and a different perspective on it. They might be more traditional than we are, and we are too. But we got a little bit more flavor.
Okay.
So I'm going to give people. Here are the signs that let you know. These signs will let you know when you're ready to move on. Number one, you know how in all our relationships, we have feelings involved. We have that love. We have that unconditional thing that most people can't understand. We have that when we join partners or get with someone else. We have a special bond with those individuals. All right? So the first sign is if things are going left and you've already grieved. Once you've grieved, because a lot of people put off the grieving process. That's the last event that takes place before they decide to leave. So, and what I mean by grieve, it means that you have a deep sorrow. You felt deep sorrow or emotional pain. I'm not meaning that you got to go somewhere in the corner and cry for 3 days and then come up for air. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Is when you get that feeling of deep sorrow, you felt sorrow in this relationship, and you've experienced some emotional pain. That's your first sign that you're ready to leave. Even if the relationship is still ongoing, you can still be involved in the relationship. But if you've grieved, then that's a sign that you're ready to move on. The second thing is that when you're not numb or in denial anymore, when you're not numb or in denial in relationships, we don't want to think that things bad should happen to us, especially when we haven't done anything to deserve it. So our default is automatically denial. As I was saying earlier, it's not that bad. And when I say denial, that don't mean that you 100% just don't acknowledge it. When I say denial, it had moved you to the point of leaving. So that's the second thing. When you are no longer numb and you have to acknowledge it and you aren't in denial anymore, that's the second sign that you're ready to leave that relationship. You've been through all the emotions. You felt the sadness, right? You've been angry. You've been disappointed. And you've been confused already. You're confused about why it's happening to you. Good people, when you have a good nature and you value your relationship, right? A lot of times confusion sets in because you don't understand why it's happening to you. And that's true, man, woman, or child. We haven't done anything to deserve it. So why am I in this type of relationship? You know, I talk to people that, you know, and masonically and giving them counsel. And they tell me, Mr. G, look, I ain't never done that, man. I don't know why they act like that or why she's treating me like this. Yeah, because you don't feel you haven't done anything. And I'm not saying that you have, but that's where the moment of confusion sets in. Now, the third thing is this, and this is very important. The third thing is when you stop trying to fix things. How many have experienced that? I mean, they've tried to do things. You're muted out.
You said how many? I was raising my hand. I'll be like, let me step to the front of the class. Hey.
Oh, so you said one time, right? All right. So that's the other thing. When you know you're done and you absolutely positively are not interested in trying to fix things. That's the third sign. I've given you 3 automatic reasons and situations that you should never ignore. And that third one is you'll know because you will stop trying. It's not in you anymore. And you don't care enough to fix it. You know when we stop making excuses for what happened, you know that it's time. Because you're no longer making excuses for why this happened or why this behavior takes place. You're not making any excuses. You're trying to figure your way out now. You've already come to an absolute conclusion that it's time to go. So when you stop trying to fix things, that's another sign. And lastly, as a part of that, and I'm talking to people, I'm talking to everybody as we're all one, we're all equal, and we're all in the same set of circumstances, because I know everybody has experienced this in some fashion or another, or know someone who has. So as a part of that, the last part to that is this. When we're no longer waiting for them to change and become the person we hoped for. When we no longer are waiting for them to suddenly become the person that we hoped they would be. Because in any relationship, we have certain expectations when we get in them. When we first meet someone that's new, and we have a lot of information to discover, We have a lot of habits that we have to learn to tolerate or not tolerate. So we really don't know. We don't have a very good measuring stick at the beginning of the relationship. But if you look at all of those three things that I just mentioned, then you know that it's time for you to leave. Now, here's an important fact. Understand this. An important fact to remember is this. When you grieve, remember grief is often the doorway to readiness. Once you grieve, there's nothing left pretty much. So it's the first sign that positively says that you are ready to leave that relationship. You all got anything you want to add before I continue? Because this is going to get real juicy in a minute. And I want people to understand that we all have reasons we're not judging people. This is not a judgmental platform. It's just for clarity and information so that people can enhance and better themselves and create better situations in their lives. That's what this is about. So it's not judging. I know people who stayed longer than I would have hoped that they stayed. And, we don't know why. And we can't judge them because we aren't involved or in that relationship. Go ahead, DeJoy.
Well, the first thing is I'm in the last relationship I got in me. We ain't breaking up. We ain't parting ways. We gonna fix this. And if we not gonna fix this, just remember what I said. I'm through with that. I ain't got no more
That's
left in
what you
me.
say now. You don't know.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I ain't got no more in me. We gonna fix it. But for real, I think everybody, can say they experienced some stages of that. At least some was obvious that some of them are obvious. But sometimes when you're going through that, you don't even know what's going on. You don't even know that you're actually grieving, or you know
Right?
it's
That's
actually
true.
the end of that it is over, but then you don't want to admit that it's over. So you try to find everything to say, well, no, because last night he bought me flowers. Last week he did this. Last week. So I mean, you have to just get to a point where you just accept it. Like, here it is, damn it, it's over. And I mean, when you finally do, I think for me that would be the point of real clarity, real understanding, when I can actually admit to myself and not be in denial. And if you start thinking about it, or even if you take and you jot stuff down and you start thinking, well, this happened this day or this happened this day, then it's really there. You just don't want to accept it. And I think you have to accept it above all things so that you can heal for the next person in your life.
Absolutely. Because you definitely don't want to drag that into your new relationship. So,
Nope, but I do know, like, when people say that, oh, I'm not dragging no past trauma in my relationship. But if you look at the other person and say, well, you know what, I didn't want to talk about this because I thought this was gonna happen, or I didn't want to this because I thought that you might say this, that's a sign that you're dragging a lot of that in there. I mean, you have to become comfortable enough with the other person so that don't expect to hurt before it happened to you. Like some
absolutely.
of us, some of us are in there where we expect to hurt before it happened. We want to fight before anything happens, and this and that and the third. And I just think a lot of good people are missed that way or ran away in that manner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I agree 100%. That's a good point. But we know we're ready to move on because now we can clearly see the relationship for what it is. Once we've gone through all of that, the grieving, when we start seeing these patterns and we use those patterns of behavior for clarity, once we start seeing those things, once you felt the sorrow, once you felt the emotional hurt and pain, you know it's time to move on because you can clearly see the relationship for what it is, not through hope, which is what we like. When we're positive people, we hope it get better, and not through fear when we're timid and we're afraid to make that move. So we can see it clearly now. We aren't leaning toward the hope that it resolves peacefully or resolves to where we can remain together. Or you're not operating from fear. So you can see it clearly for the first time in a lot of cases. We're no longer romanticizing the good or catastrophizing the bad. We're no longer in love with the good, and we're not over dramatic or fearful with the bad. That's when we know. We can acknowledge both what worked and what didn't work. And a lot of times, we can't always blame the other individual. I don't know any relationship where there is not fault on both parts. I'm not saying equal fault. I'm just saying fault. If you divorce yourself from the relationship before you decide to leave, then you're contributing to the demise of it. That's just the way it goes. Now, we can actually start accepting the reality of the relationship. We know what it is. We know we ain't trying to fix it no more. And we're not looking for the potential. We all want to hold on, and we want to hold on forever, or for as long as we can, for a number of different reasons. Number one, it could be for security. Number two, it could be for finances. Number three, it could be because you're just fearful or afraid. Number four, you can have low self-esteem and don't think that you can get anybody else. So it all depends. There are a multitude of reasons why people stay in toxic relationships when they know they should have gone or left long time ago. The clarity often replaces the hope with facts and honesty. When you get the clarity, it replaces the hope with honesty because you're seeing things as they are, not as you want them to be. You know how we all try to find the best in things and ignore the bad? I mean, that's a human characteristic. We all want to look for the good in people because we truly believe that there is some good in people. And that's fine. But the problem is when we ignore the bad, you can't ignore it. By believing or saying it wasn't that bad, I know they love me, or any other excuse we make, we're ignoring the bad. We should make excuses for bad behavior, not with grown people. When you're teenagers and young, what they call puppy love or whatever it was, yeah, you're going to make a whole host of mistakes. And you got a lot of time to recover. But as you get older, you got that biological clock that's ticking. You got Father Time that's out there. So you don't have the opportunities that you have when you're young. So the quicker we fix it, the better off we'll be. I know you all have heard me say on many, many occasions, if you follow us wholeheartedly, I don't think at this point and earlier in my life, where I would allow anyone to disturb my peace. I don't think there's nothing more important in life than your peace. And we can define that, and it can encompass a whole lot of things: your happiness, uh, your ability to be your true self without judgment, uh, being, not isolated, but being alone does not mean that you're lonely. So we all have to come to a point where we won't sacrifice ourselves or our peace for any individual. If you're involved with someone who don't respect your space, then how can your life be fulfilling? How can you be happy? You can love me all day long, but if you don't respect me, I don't want the love at all. And I don't think it's possible to have love without respect. But that's just my opinion. All right. Keith, you got anything you want to add before I continue, boss?
Nah, go ahead, OG.
All right. Well, I'll say this: love feels like love. True love does not feel any other way. It feels like love. And love has always felt good. It's never been painful or hurtful or disrespectful. It's always felt like love. Now, here's another thing that you have to consider. When the relationship costs you more than what it gives. When the relationship costs you more than what it gives. Hey, I got a namesake out there. Hey, Cortez. All right. That's another sign when you're ready to move on. If the relationship costs you more, if you're giving more than what is giving you back, then it's time for you to move on.
And a lot of people don't realize that until it's too late sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a
They
big problem.
they be done lost a whole lot of time, a whole lot of their life. And that's one thing you can't get back. You can't get back the time lost. You can't even make up for it. You can do things to make it better when you find your person, so to speak, but you can never get that back. And some of those scars never heal. They better, because you get with somebody, but there's always that trauma there. Um, to a degree. I'm not saying, that it'll manifest or whatever, but there's always a space where you never forget that.
Oh yeah. Hey, and
And then
especially
when it's too
like
late.
you said, once you've invested time, that's why. Hey, it's like a double-edged sword. When you put too much time in, then you don't feel that you can ever leave. But
Oh yeah.
if there's a critical event that happens and you do leave, you kick yourself saying, "Why did I stay that long?" So it works on both hands. I advise people, and
Well,
everybody's circumstance.
you kind of like when you've been in situations like that. I'm not gonna say it's hard to start over. It's just hard to start living versus existing, because then you realize
Say that
you've been
again now.
existing.
Ooh, I like
I
that.
said it's hard for you to start living versus existing, because then you realize you just been existing in somebody else's world for their enjoyment, for their betterment or whatever, versus yours. It becomes theirs versus you, when it should be ours or we. And that's something that my partner and I always talk about now, or he'll stop me when I say me or I, well, what about we? Or you didn't ask me to go, or you didn't say we should go, and it's not even the fact that, you want to say we want to go everywhere, but you always want to make it inclusive. Hey, I'd like to go see this. Would you like to go? Or have you ever been? Or something like that, so it's hard to learn to include people when you have not been included. But then that's when you should remember how you felt, or that those end stages, or during that grief, how you felt when you really had to reflect on what you were not included in, or what you didn't get a chance to do or say or whatever. And you should always want somebody to say what they feel, no matter how painful it is. Because just think about how, traumatized you may be from holding all that stuff in. So I think that was a valid point.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, it's hard when you come from difficult circumstances. Just like you said, you may, with all your heart, want to make sure that I don't carry this with me into my next relationship, because I don't want to have those issues, because I know how it feels. But when it becomes part of who you are after so long, it takes time to rid yourself of it, and it takes a whole lot of praying. If you, you got to give it to the grand architect. If he gives you a better situation, which you asked for, so you got to pray and try to get the guidance from him, so that you can keep your stuff in order.
You pray like it depends on him, and you work like it depends on you. So at the end of the day, when you get in that situation, some people alive, I've been divorced for 13 years, be 14 years at 26. So we're not going to get into all the details of everything, but trauma's trauma, and everybody has to go through what they have to go through. At the end of the day, you realize it takes two to tango. So any bad situation you're in, you got to look at yourself. And if you don't redesign yourself and turn yourself into the best version of you, once you get past the initial pain and grieving, you got to go through all that at the same time. But you got to realize that you got to wake up tomorrow and go to work, because now it's a lot riding on your mental and your emotional makeup, because it can ruin some people's life. Some people go through divorces and they never come back. They're done. So it's not easy, and it takes years. And then a lot of people, what they do is they get in rebound relationships. So they broke up with whoever they with. Right? I'll leave you to thunder, but they broke up with who they with, and then immediately they with somebody else, and you like, there's absolutely no way that person healed that quick. That's impossible. So then they wonder why the rebound relationship didn't work. So when I went through my situation, I just said, I need time to myself. I need to do what I need to do, and I'm not bringing what's on me right now to somebody else, because I knew I was reeking of toxicity, anger, resentment, bitterness, all that. We've all been through that. But until you realize that you're doing it to yourself, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. You're the one drinking the poison. So you got to get out of that. But sometimes it's hard, and it takes people longer than others. Some people do it faster than others. But at the end of the day, you got to make a spiritual decision that you're not going to allow whatever that is to define you, because it actually at that point has nothing to do with the other person. But go ahead, Mr. G.
Oh yeah. Hey, you made a good point. So I'm gonna expound on it for a moment. You talked about rebound. Listen, if you leave a relationship, and I believe everyone needs to spend time with themselves before they get too involved with another individual. It doesn't mean that you cut out all of your social contact with people or whatever you do, but you need time to figure out yourself first, particularly if you come from an environment or a relationship that has not shown you love. Whether or not you've done it or not doesn't matter. If it's not reciprocated, you cannot get into another relationship and then expect it to be toxic, because you're not ready for a relationship. That individual, the new one, he or she, they're gonna suffer. And let me say it like this. For example, you leave a relationship where you weren't allowed to be expressive or talk about how you feel, right? You get with a new individual who enjoys and respects you and wants you to communicate. Now, because of that toxicity, from the last relationship, you aren't going to do it. So how is that going to weigh on that other individual? He may think that something is wrong with him, or he may think that there's something troubling you so bad that you may never be able to get over it. And like they say, birds of a feather flock together. So if an individual is not used to toxicity in a relationship, they're not going to stay in it. If they're used to their peace, they're not going to allow you to interrupt their peace. So even though you mean no harm, that small fact that you don't want to open up and communicate can become very frustrating to your partner, and it can cause problems within your relationship. So I highly advise anyone, if that happens, if you happen to leave someone, take some time for yourself. Figure out what it is that you like. Figure out how to love yourself, self-love, so that when you enter into a new relationship, everything that the relationship offers, you can reciprocate it. You're not going to be able to do that if you come from one that has not shown love or caring or communications, because those are the tenets and the pillars that make a relationship work.
Yep. And also, don't put a time limit on your healing, because you've
Absolutely.
never been through it. You don't know how long it's going to take. And some people put a time limit and say, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Actually, no, you're not. Right. And then let the new situation naturally evolve organically and authentically, not you chasing people. Some people chase relationships because they feel like you said, they feel like they have to be with somebody, otherwise they're lonely. But loneliness is not being with a person. You could be with a person and still feel lonely.
Amen. Amen. You said something there, boss. You can be with somebody because you're trying to avoid being lonely. But if you're with the wrong person, you can still feel lonely and isolated in that relationship. Especially, like Miss O'Neill said, if they don't include you in anything. So you're going to feel isolated. You're going to feel lonely. So just by having another body next to you or in close proximity does not guarantee that you won't be lonely. So let's get rid of that myth right now. Just to be with somebody doesn't guarantee that you're not lonely, because you still can be lonely even if you're with someone. So you start at this point. You start to notice consistent imbalances. Remember, when it's time for you to leave, or when you're almost ready to leave, there's a habit that repeats itself over and over. You just choose to ignore it. There's no dramatic one thing that forces you to leave. That one thing may be the straw that breaks the camel's back, but you've seen signs all along. So you start to see consistent imbalances, such as your peace versus your attachment. Your peace versus your attachment. Your growth versus your level of comfortability. When a relationship causes you to shrink, which means you have to become small or less important to survive it. When a relationship causes you to shrink, your readiness to leave begins at that point. When you start to feel that you're not an equal partner, or your opinion doesn't matter, or you don't have a voice in a relationship, that's when your degree of readiness starts. It doesn't mean that you're going to act on it, but that means that you've acknowledged those elements are present and it's a sign that you are ready to leave. It doesn't mean that you have to leave. So I don't want anybody to get it twisted. When we say ready to leave, it doesn't mean you have to leave at that moment. Of course, we're smart and mature enough to understand logistically, emotionally, physically, financially, things have to be put in place. But
Hey, Mr. G.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Financially, there's things that need put in place. Go ahead.
yeah. I was just saying that there are things that have to be put in place, and we thoroughly acknowledge and understand that. So I don't want anybody to think that as a result of this live, our whole focus is on, okay, leave tomorrow. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that do not ignore the signs if you're in in an unhealthy relationship and you want better for yourself. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, Keith.
100%. I'm with you. All I was going to say was this a little bit too. Make sure people are alive that your perception is not off. Perception is truth to the people who have the perception. You could be in a relationship that's not actually what you think it is because you're not communicating properly. So you got to make sure that, like you said, some of those moves, leave, this, that, you got to have a lot of communication before you do that because you could be making the wrong decision. There could be a way to fix it. There could be couples counseling. There's a lot of things. If the people are not willing to work on it together, then that's obviously when it's over. But you got to make sure that your perception is not off. You should be focused on truth and facts.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, you need to make sure that you've done listen, if a relationship is built on love, then most times you're going to be able to work it out. Whether or not you are not a great communicator or whatever your shortcomings are, it's the attempt and the willingness to listen and to communicate effectively that gives new breath to the relationship. So you don't have to leave right away. So as Keith just said, you want to make sure that you have attempted and you're not working off of your emotions and you thoroughly understand your partner. You have to thoroughly understand your partner. Just because that person comes home and they are angry or upset, that may not be a good reason to call it quits. But again, remember, in any relationship, and I bet everything that I own on this, there are always signs. There are always signs. You don't wake up one morning and something drastically happens, then you say, oh, it's over. No. There are going to be breadcrumbs left all over your house, all over your condo, all over wherever you reside. So we just don't do a good job at reading the tea leaves until it becomes intolerable. It becomes too much for us to bear. So keep that in mind. Now, and I want to say this so that it brings some type of understanding, excuse me, to what you need to be looking out for. Your body will always react before your mind. When it's time for you to leave, your body will always react before your mind. And I'm saying that's because it's powerful. When I say that your mind, I'm also speaking in terms of your heart and your mind. So your body is going to always, I guarantee you, you're going to either get quiet, you're going to stomp through the house, you're going to leave, you're going to do something, and your body is going to absorb that. So it's not your mind that gets it first.
All of that is exhausting. All of that is
Oh
exhausting. It,
yeah,
you going so when you say your body is gonna feel it first, the
yeah.
whole
But
thing is
isn't
just
that true though?
exhausting.
I know
Yeah.
people who've gone through all kind of different things. You know, I've known people who've had uh, physical signs, and you could see it in their bodies. Um, high blood pressure, sweating, isolation,
Oh
all
yeah.
kind of different things that happens physically to their bodies. So it's gonna, and I'm not saying it to that extreme. It could be something simple, but the point of the matter and what people need to know is that your body is gonna always react before your mind and heart. It's gonna always act before your mind and your heart. So you feel lighter. This is a part of the physical. You start feeling lighter. This is when we know it's time to leave. You start feeling lighter, imagining life without that person. So that means that before then, it was heavy, it was burdensome to you. So when you get to the point of where you're almost ready to leave, you start feeling lighter. All right? And when I say that your body reacts first, there's anxiety. So the anxiety fades away when the distance increases. Let me say that again. Anxiety fades away when the distance increases. So when you know that you're away and you start feeling a lot better about yourself, you start putting your life in perspective and you start feeling happier and you don't have that burden of the relationship anymore, then you know it's time. I know I said this earlier, but I need to make this point. Let me take a drink first.
You just wanted to take a drink.
I had to wet my throat. But I said this point that your body reacts before your mind, right? So check this out. Before your heart and your mind knows, your body knows when you're ready to leave before your heart.
My body do too, cause then I'm knock you out if I don't get up out of there. So my body know too, cause when I get ready, want to scratch your eyeballs out and all that stuff, it's time to go.
But think about it. We know that the heart wants what the heart wants, right? But think about it.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah, yeah.
last thing that you're going to disengage. Your heart, if you depended on your heart, you would never leave. But if you acknowledge the signs of your body and the physicality of the relationship, it will let you know prior to your heart. So that's worth repeating, I think.
It took something for me. It took another type of trigger for me to see that. I mean, I know that I knew what kind of relationship I was in. I knew what was going on, but it took something else and someone else to trigger that for me. Not to say that someone can heal, your broken heart and this and that and the other. But if you don't know how you're supposed to be treated and how you're supposed to be talked to and this and that and the other, and then you meet someone, it could be just a friendship or in passing that talks to you, in a certain way or genuinely loving and kind and this, that, and the third, then sometimes it takes those kind of triggers to set things off or to put things in motion. You know, because sometimes, like you said, we can confuse that. Oh, he do it because he love me. He talk like that because he love me. He don't want me around nobody because he love me. No, he don't want you around nobody because he don't want you to figure out that it's all wrong with where you at. You know, so I mean, it took it took other events in my life to actually trigger the locomotive to start going. You know, and out of fear, you know, I stayed away from people. I stayed away from, you know, a lot of things that I enjoyed. But then when that fear started to leave, as you said, you know, and you start going around people and you just really, you know, open yourself up, the little rays of light peek in, you know. And it's hard, it's bad to say that there takes someone else or other things to trigger, you know, the your brain to thinking or your body to react or you to react. But sometimes it's that deep where it takes somebody else to set those things off, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, the most important thing is that you get to that point. So, however, and you are absolutely right. Sometimes you can meet people that come into your life and they can show you something totally different, and you be like, man, I never knew that I could exist in that space and time and feel the way that I'm feeling.
No, not existing. I told you I took that word out. I left out of there like when Tina and Ike was in that car and she beat him with that shoe. Look,
You
I
didn't
ain't
do
even
that,
want
did
to.
you?
I ain't even, huh?
You didn't do that, did you?
Well, I mean, you know,
You didn't
technically
do it
that's
with a
what it was
shoe.
playing out in my mind, though. But I mean, I wonder if I'd have had a white shoe, I'd have beat the brake
No,
shoe. And
no,
you
we don't
keep
want
it.
to.
I ain't want the name either.
Nah, we don't want to resolve anything that way now. Come on.
I mean, but that's what played out in my head. And as I was leaving, you know, that scene was playing out, and then the waiting to exhale played out when she set everything on fire. Now I ain't gonna say cut my hair off now, but I mean all that other stuff. Because boy, if I'd have had a shoe and some lighter fluid and a lighter,
You
y'all.
you you violent.
I'm trying to see. I'm trying to. I mean, because
You
you know
trying to
what?
get on
That's
your
how,
bad side. You
no,
sound
but
like
look, that's
angry.
how angry. In all seriousness, though, that's how angry I was because I felt like I had wasted 30 something years of my life. You know,
30.
because
Hey man,
everything.
that's a lifetime.
That's why I wanted to take the shoe, the lighter, and
30
everything else.
years? You said
Yeah,
30 years?
You
yeah,
said
and
30,
I made
30 years.
excuses or reasonings to stay. You know, my kids, I can't make it by myself. I'm ugly. I'm not this. I'm not that. You know, and all
Nah,
the
you should
while,
never feel that way.
no, but I'm saying, I mean, and I'm not joking. I'm serious now, y'all. But that shoe, that lighter fluid looked real good at one point. But you know, I made all kind of excuses and reasons as to what it was me, not them. It was me, not them. Not saying that some things were not my fault, as you said. I'm not saying that. I'm not dismissing that. But
Right,
you
right.
know, everything was, well, you know, what did I do? Was I not skinny enough? I mean, all kind of things, you know. And still now, you know, even though I'm in a loving, caring relationship and I could not ask for, you know, I couldn't ask to be loved more or whatever, you know, I still think to myself sometimes, you know, hey, did I do this right? Or am I okay? Am I too fat? Am I this and that? Especially because, you know, I've always had, you know, health issues and things like that. So I always look, well, maybe, you know, because of this or because of that, you know, I'm a little swagger gone. But I'm telling y'all, that lighter fluid, that fire,
Yeah,
and
but
that shoe,
that's why I say
but
you have to really
Sam,
get into an understanding about yourself and what love really is.
yeah,
Because love does not care about any of those characteristics. You know, true love. A
right.
lot of people are infatuated by looks and money and all of those different things. But true love does not really care about any of that stuff. So, but when you're
Right.
ready to leave, you become more interested in your peace than closure.
Well, I'm not gonna say that because I wanted peace and I wanted closure because I had to close that
I
chapter
did
out.
not say that. I
So,
said you
okay,
become more interested in your peace then closure. When closure is the most important thing to you, then you're really not ready to leave.
Well, I kind of disagree with that. I kind of disagree with that
No,
because
I'm going to
I,
explain
you
it to you.
know, huh?
I'm going to explain it to you.
Yeah, because you don't want me to get that shoe because it come through this screen right here. But I'm just saying.
Go ahead and make your point.
No, but you know what? I know that my piece was, the first and foremost thing right there. But the reason why I said I needed the closure because I had to close that whole part of my life. I can't forget it. I still got my kids. I still got that, but I had to have that closure there so that I wouldn't be angry, so that I wouldn't be, resentful and
Right.
stuff like that. And once I did, once I did move on with the closure and the peace, like I'm a beast right now. You know what I'm
Oh, yeah,
saying?
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I kind of put the shoe up. I mean, I got the shoe and everything in a plastic bag in case I gotta pull it out again. And a lot of I got the little burn up kit ready. But I ain't thought about that. I done put it up. But I mean it's still, in reserve.
Okay, well let me explain. When I say that you're more concerned with your peace than closure. Let me explain to you what that means. This is when you're ready to leave. Of course, everybody wants closure if that's possible, but it can't override your peace. If it overrides your peace, you aren't ready to leave the relationship because you're still looking for answers. When you're at peace, you no longer care about answers. When you are more concerned with your peace, you're no longer chasing apologies. You don't need explanations. Or you don't need validation. When you're more concerned with your peace, you don't need no apologies. You can give a rat's ass about any apology. You don't care anything about anything but your peace.
Say that. Say
You
that.
don't
Yes,
care.
sir.
And that's
And
what
now
I
you
mean.
speaking because that's exactly when I went through my phase that I really grew at that point when I didn't care and I no longer was seeking answers. Nah, just let it all go. You live
That's
free
it.
and clear. You have no baggage. You getting on the plane with a carry on.
Look here, you don't care nothing about closure, none of that. If you get it, fine. If you don't care. You ain't looking for it because you don't care about apologies and explanations of validation. You're okay not having the last word. Even if you leave, you don't care if you know how a lot of times we get in these relationships and the last word becomes very important to us. We want to have the last word. That is what simulated closure means to a lot of people, if I have the last word. But when you get to the point of where you want and value your peace more than you value closure, then you're ready to move on. If you're not at that point, then you're not ready to move. You don't need them to get you anymore. I think someone said everybody wants to be understood. When you get to this point in the relationship, for whatever reason, you don't even care if they understand you or get it. You've been involved with it. You've given ample enough time. You've devoted your time, your resources, your whole being. So at that point, you really don't care. Anointed Jim, how are you? Okay, listen. So when you get to that point, that's a sign, that's a clear sign of emotional independence. You have to have emotional independence when we're talking about conditions of the heart, when we're talking about love, when we're talking about caring for people. You have to be independent of any other external forces to include your significant other or your spouse. So that's a sign of emotional independence, when you're now more concerned with the peace over closure. Now, also, you become curious about life beyond the relationship. I've seen people, their whole world was wrapped up in their partners. Everything they did, everything they lived for, everything they inspired to be, it was wrapped up in their partners. So when you get to that relationship that's volatile, and you know, because you've seen the signs, you just ignore them, that you want to leave, you become curious about relationships outside of that relationship. How many times did this happen? If you just sitting at your dinner table and you stand to yourself, man, I can't stand this SOB. I can't wait till he leave. Sometimes if you talk about, I can't wait till he die. You know, they get to them points in their lives where the hate and the anger has built up so much, right? But at the same time, you're wondering, man, I wonder what it would be like to be in a normal relationship. You go to the supermarket and you see a couple that's holding hands and having fun and seem like they are so in love. You wonder, man, I wonder how that feels, right? We've all done it, because every relationship that we had ain't been the best. I can attest to that. Every relationship ain't been the best. That don't mean it has to be horrible, but we've seen those situations where we just thought, I wonder how it would feel or how it would be outside of this relationship if I should meet the right person. Just thinking, even dreaming about what a new relationship would be like. That's a sign that you're ready to go. Because if you think about it, if you're dreaming about it, thinking about it, you already clocked out. You just ain't lived. You might just be trying to find the right opportunity. You've already clocked out. If you're thinking about, man, I wonder how that guy right there, he looked like he's so nice. I saw him open the door for his wife and grabbed her and gave him his coat and all of these terms and actions that show love and endearment. And you've wondered about that. So you've already clocked out, at least emotionally. You might still be there physically, but emotionally, what that song the OJ's put out, I know your mind, your body is here with me, but your mind is on the other side of town. You're messing me around. Let me stop. I just had to throw that in there because they did have a song about that. Yeah. A good grounding question to ask ourselves is this question right here. If nothing about this relationship ever changes, could I live there peacefully? If you ask this one question, if nothing about this relationship ever changes, can I live there peacefully? And I'm not talking about tolerating. We all can tolerate things that we don't like or don't desire. We can tolerate it. And we're not talking about settle for something. We all can settle for anything. If our circumstances call for it and we feel that we don't have any other options, we can settle and we can tolerate a whole bunch of BS. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if nothing ever changes, could you live there peacefully? Peacefully. Because again, I can't see being involved with anyone that disturbs my peace. That's just me personally. I know a lot of people may not believe that, but anybody that knows me know that I value my peace over everything. My peace and my spirituality. Those are the two most important things in my life, because with those two things, everything else falls into place. All right? Now, I've seen in relationships where people, I don't know why my throat is so dry, have shown excessive weaknesses, or said things, or behaved a certain way that caused me to look at them differently. So for my peace, I can easily cut that off. You know how you see someone and you not built that way. You see somebody who show you that they really weak, and you've never seen that before. And it doesn't have to be where you want them to go lift 500 pounds, but I'm talking about mentally, that they're weak. Done things that cause you to pause and say, man, I didn't expect that out of that person. So your peace is the most important thing. Now here's the last point that I'm going to make, and we're going to call it a night before my conclusion. When you know you're ready to move on, you now know love is not the only thing to keep you in that relationship. When you know you're ready to move on, you now know love isn't the only thing necessary to keep you there. A lot of people trying to eat and live off love. I ain't never ate no love. I put no love in my gas tank. So you muted out, DeJoy, if you're trying to say something.
It just kind of tickled me a little bit. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, that's the truth. I ain't never ate no love or filled my tank up with no love. So I know that love, it takes a lot more than love in a relationship and in life. All right. You finally recognize that love alone isn't enough. You start demanding respect, consistency, safety, and reciprocation. And you put yourself first. Key point, if you don't put yourself first in a relationship, and that's not being selfish, if you can't love yourself, you sure can't love anybody else. So the first thing that you have to do is learn to learn yourself. And in a toxic relationship, you may have known, but you might have to rehearse it again, relearn some things again. But you have to put yourself first. In doing so, you can give all the love necessary to foster a good relationship, a good loving relationship. If you don't learn to put yourself first, you're going to have problems sooner or later. The first law of nature is self-preservation. So take care of yourself. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. If somebody wants to borrow $10 from me and I ain't got but two, I can't help them with the 10. Even if I give them two, they still need 8 more. Right? Let me say that again. A little differently, because if I give them $2, they probably can find the other 8, hopefully. But if they need 10 and I got 0, that's a better analysis, right? Then I can't help. All right. Now, before I conclude, we want everybody to know, first of all, we wish everybody a happy holiday season. There's a lot of different things going on in the world, so make sure you take care of yourselves and take care of your loved ones and show them love daily, not just when you feel like it. Put your emotions behind your love, put your emotions behind all of that. Because we get emotional and we don't speak to our siblings, we don't speak to our friends, we don't speak to our co-workers, and we don't have anything to do with them. We don't want anything to do with them. That's a bad way to live your life. Make sure you love on the people who love you, and even if they don't, keep your karma right by loving on them anyway. All right? So in conclusion, when you're truly ready to move on from a relationship that you should have left or no longer desire to be in, readiness shows up as clarity. You will clearly know that it's time to leave. It's not chaos. You stop hoping for change that never comes. We got a lot of people that hold on by that thread. You stop hoping for change that never comes, because it won't. And you start accepting the relationship as it truly is. Being ready to move on from a relationship, you start to understand one thing. This one thing, if you understand it, then you will not be involved with a relationship that does not serve you. That one thing is, it isn't about losing love. It's about choosing yourself. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you next Wednesday. Au revoir, Arime, auf Wiedersehen, and bye-bye, and we'll see y'all next week. Take care. Thanks for joining.
Bye, y'all.